We will begin tonight's ceremony. Councilmember Roper, you've got the opening ceremony.
Sure thing. If everybody will rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity we have to gather in this public setting to discuss the matters of Clearfield City. And we pray that thou will be with us as we discuss these things and make choices that will affect our residents. We pray for our armed forces serving our country, and pray that thou will protect them and be with their families as well. We also pray for our public safety of our police officers and our firefighters who serve us and work so hard to keep us safe. We are grateful for this great nation that we have to live in and to have the freedoms that we have to be able to make decisions and to be able to make this a beautiful place to live. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tim. So I got this troop. I did not get over to this side. Which troop are you guys from? Oh, fantastic. Well, it's good to have you here tonight. This is a lot of scouts in one meeting. But we appreciate you being here. We do have minutes to approve from the January 24th work session. Council, have you had a chance to review those minutes?
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we approve the January 24th work session minutes as presented to us.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes stand. So the first item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing for a general plan amendment to change the land use designation from commercial to mixed use for a property located at 1129 South State Street. Spencer, do you want to give us some... Are we up?
Yes. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. Is anything coming on your screens? Okay.
Nope. Mine says ViewSonic. Makes me want to. Okay.
My apologies. All right. Honorable Mayor, members of the council, item GPA 1612-0002 is a request for a general plan amendment to the Clearfield City general land use map relative to a property located at 1129 South State Street. I apologize that you're not able to see it on your screens. It's a really pretty picture. I did a great job, so I apologize that it's not there. This property is, just to give you some proximity and for the public, directly east from what has been referred to as the Clearfield Station site and a little bit north on the east side of State Street. The property is owned by an entity known as Phoenix Services, who provides services for those who have experienced traumatic brain injuries. The request is for 0.31 acres to be changed on the general land use map from general commercial to mixed use. The purpose of the request is to accommodate a zoning request that we'll hear later on in this meeting for the potential development of a facility there that will encompass both commercial office space as well as residential units for some of the individuals they provide services for. The guidelines in the general plan are supportive of this request in the fact that this property has not really had any opportunities for development in the past. The owners of the property purchased it in October of 2015 and as such have desired to develop it in accordance with their current use on the property directly east. The relationship to the planned uses in the area, as we see Clearfield Station evolving and coming online in certain capacities, will be consistent, and as well as their desire to make this a really great project for the city as a whole. Staff is recommending approval of this request to amend the general plan as it facilitates objectives within our small area plan for the downtown of Clearfield City. This area was not actually specifically included, however, it is adjacent to predominantly most of the area that was included. The east side of State Street wasn't necessarily included in all of that. However, everything on the west side and north was definitely included in that small area plan. And so we feel like facilitating this change in the general land use map will be beneficial to the overall development of our downtown along the state and main corridor. So with that, staff is recommending approval of this. We received a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission at their meeting earlier this month where they heard this item and did recommend to the council approval of it as well.
Okay, thank you, Spencer. I'll go ahead and declare the public hearing open. I don't have any forms. Is there anyone here to speak?
I am here.
Okay.
Two separate issues.
No, is this regarding this issue?
No.
Oh, okay, we're not to the citizen comment portion yet. Is there anyone else that's here to speak either for or against this issue? Oh, look, his map's coming up. This is the property just north of Manuel's, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well then, seeing no public comment, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Your Honor, I move to close the public hearing.
Yeah, Your Honor,
Oh,
I think we may have public comment.
oh, you're good.
I'm Carrie Bambro. I'm the one that made the motion, I guess, to make the change for the property that we have. We currently have an office or building there that we support people with brain injuries, and we're just really excited for this opportunity that we have to be able to expand what we're able to do and provide those services and supports to people with brain injuries. So thank you for your consideration of this, and I guess we'll have questions later. But.
Fantastic, thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. We had a motion on the
Now
table.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So item number 2, regarding the same property, is a public hearing for a rezone request for the property located at 1129 South State Street from commercial to commercial residential, the CR zone. Did you need to speak any more to that, Spencer?
Honorable Mayor, if I could, I'd like to give a little bit more detail that the applicant, for these two requests, we don't really talk about land use and what's being proposed when it comes to general plan, but with rezones, we typically like to have an understanding of what the intended use is. The applicant has provided a conceptual site plan and some additional basic language on what the design may look like and some of those elements. And so I'd like to provide that information to the council and to the public, if I might, just to give a little bit more context to what they'd like to do here. So the request is, again, on the same property, 1129 South State Street. It is for a rezone from general commercial to commercial residential. And the request is really for the purpose of them being able to accommodate commercial office space relative to their additional units that would be located on this particular piece of property. Again, here's an overall site of the area, with this being the property that we're discussing this evening, and this is the existing facility that they are utilizing at this time. So, as I said, the conceptual site plan really gives an opportunity for us to look at this building and see how it affects the State Street corridor, the additional landscaping. It is not a very big piece of property. It's about 1/3 of an acre, and so you do have to get a little creative when it comes to that. However, with the existing parking to the east, there's opportunities to share and have cross-access there relative to that, as well as just increasing the look and feel along State Street. They provided some conceptual ideas. This one's out of Colorado, just kind of to give us an idea of what they'd like to look at, obviously through the site plan process and the conditional use process, which will be required. We'll look at the design of the building. Ultimately, a development agreement could be required relative to this project, and that's something that we can discuss in greater detail relative to their site plan request. But there are some of those things that we can look at. This is some of the language that they provided. So a storefront glazing with main floor, 12-foot wide pedestrian access, second floor residential units, parking hidden, open space garden areas. All of these things are obviously conceptual in nature at this point, but the applicant really wants to improve the look of this facility, improve the look of this part of the city, and especially along our State Street corridor, complement our plans for the downtown small area plan as well. So as I stated earlier, The CR zone requires conditional use approval for anything that's listed as a conditional use in the CR zone, which multifamily or anything more than 4 units would be, which is what they're proposing. The office space would be allowed as a permitted use, but we'd still take it through the site plan and conditional use process following the decision of this body if it does get approved. Staff received a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission on this item, and they recommended to the council approval of this item as well. Any questions for staff?
Perhaps a tiny bit, a little off topic, but just as far as the housing component, would that be exclusive to individuals with brain injuries right there, or would that be something that anyone who wanted to come and lease at that point, or would be just like more like a campus atmosphere with the existing structures already there?
I just realized I wasn't talking in the microphone. Apparently, I'm really loud. Excellent question. The intent for the owners of the property is to provide services for individuals that they already are serving. So it wouldn't be anybody but that would be associated with their operations. So the individuals that would be located on there would be similar to what is already on site to the east.
So is the thought of the commercial on the ground floor, is that commercial going to be associated with the facility itself?
Great question. Yeah, the commercial office space that's being proposed would be for their operations. So currently they're utilizing a portion of one of the buildings to the east for their office space. And so what they would do is move that kind of into a more formal setting into the office building. It would have training areas and conference rooms and other things where they could operate a little bit more cleanly from the residential facility itself and have commercial space to do so. But it would be specific to their operation, from what I understand. There's no intent to lease out to another entity or retail opportunity.
And then there wouldn't be a leasing office, is that correct?
Correct. That's my understanding. It would be their office operations. Mm-hmm.
How many more residential units? Did you tell me 6 today?
I believe it's 6, yeah. And I'll leave that up to the council. I think there'll be a time where you'll be able to comment, but I believe it's 6 units if I recall. It's kind of a 50-50 split, about 3,100 square feet on the bottom and approximately the same amount on the top, a 6,000 square foot building. So kind of a 50-50 split there. The CR zone requires percentages for that increase in residential units, and right now they're at a 50-50 split, which would be consistent with their request for that number of units.
So with the offices that are being vacated, are they going to be vacated, or would this be an augmentation to them? Are they the offices that are currently in use now that would migrate over here? What would become of those?
That's a great question. I think I'll let the applicant speak more to the specific plans for the changing out of the building and the occupation of the office space specific to how they're going to structure that. As we've discussed it with them, my understanding has been they're utilizing space in the existing buildings, but that will be in the new building, their operations and everything like that on the bottom floors. But they'll be able to speak more directly to exactly what their operation will be.
Okay.
Anything else, council?
I just would like to comment, I like the setback from State Street and the landscaping and things. I personally appreciate that you're taking the look and feel of the city into consideration into that.
Yeah, that was the only thing that was really, it was a crucial part for me, was how this looks on State Street.
Yeah.
Right now, the property's really not visible from State Street. I mean, you just don't even know it's there unless you're looking for it. So to put something right up on State Street needs to sparkle. Okay, well, declare the public hearing open then. Is there anyone here to speak? We'll let you get up if you want to say anything. I don't.
Thank you, council members. My name is Tracy Dutson. I'm actually acting is a good word. I'm representing Phoenix Services as their developer. So I've been in the affordable housing development business for about 20 years, mostly tax credit development. But when I was presented with the opportunity to do this project to help them with a dream that's been in the organization for a long time, I jumped right at it, and I love Clearfield. It's a great place to do business. So I'll let Carrie speak I'll speak briefly just to the kind of physical. We actually so we came up on Front Runner, which is great because it's just right here. From Salt Lake, our architect is here in the audience as well if you have some specific details. But I know at this point that's not what we're here for. Right. But it will be, so the beautiful part about this is the Phoenix Services right now is struggling with utilizing one of their 2-bedroom units that should be used for a resident for their office. And so this beautiful building, 6 units additionally, so they'll get that 2-bedroom back for a resident, and then also get 3,000 square feet-ish of office space that they can utilize to expand their services. Okay, that's all I have.
I'm Carrie Bambro. I'm currently the Executive Director of Phoenix Services, and like I mentioned earlier, we're very excited about the opportunity that we have to expand and grow what services we're currently providing. So right now, as you can see, we have those 2 fourplex apartments that we're currently are using, and we currently have people that we're serving in those apartments, and we are utilizing one of those, as Tracy mentioned, as our office. And so we are definitely in need of something a little bit more, as well as we have a need for being able to serve more people in the setting that we're serving them in now. So this will allow us to expand and to provide services to people who just aren't being able to get those services right now. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
welcome.
Is there anyone else here to speak for or against this one? Oh, yes. If you'd state your name and address for the record. Yes, up here.
I'm Nita Smith, and my address is on 650 West, 200 South in Clearfield. The reason that it's there is that when we founded Phoenix, Clearfield was the only city we could find that allowed a home occupations license that let us run our fledgling little business. So I moved to Clearfield because you guys were friendly to what we were trying to do. And we have stayed in Clearfield for that reason. Now I'm an old retired lady, and so all I do is care a lot about this opportunity, but it's a dream for me, and it means a great deal to see that it's going to happen for our folks with brain injury who have needed and desperately still need enough shelter and enough support. So it's a thank you, but also a request for your support. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. You're all right. Was there anybody else? Okay.
Your Honor, seeing no more public comment, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion in a couple of seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. That brings us to item 3, which is our citizen comment period. If you would pass your forms over to Nancy then, you're just fine. Were there anyone else that was here to speak during the public comment portion? Okay. Then if you'd come up and state your name and address.
I'm Ruth Jones, and I live at 376 East, 2200 South, here in Clearfield, of course. Sorry, I'm trying to get my notes up. I'm coming before the council to request 2 four-way stops be added to my neighborhood. We have worked with the city over this issue the entire time I've lived here and since this community has been built. I live in Chrism Meadows. And Chrism Meadows, as you know, there's Antelope and Main Street, and we have 2200 South that loops around and becomes Chelham's Way. Because a lot of the business traffic, trucks and things like that, do not want to go past the school, there's no opportunity to speed there. They use our neighborhood as a cut through. We've tried to get speed bumps put in. We've tried to get speed holes put in because we were told you can't have speed bumps with snow plows. We've asked for the signs that tell you how fast you're going. Those come in for a few days and then they have to be moved because of resources. And nothing has made a difference. And it's at a point where it's dangerous for our children to be on that street. And it's really not safe. It's a huge cut through for a lot of children that are coming from the east side of us going to Antelope Elementary. They come through our neighborhood. In particular at Chelham's Way and 2025 South, there is actually a crosswalk there that the children utilize in the morning. I watch cars zoom past and not even stop for those kids. That would be a perfect location for a four-way stop that would force the traffic to notice the kids and be safe. The other location that we'd like one put in is 2200 South and 275 East. That is a little bit to the west, but by creating 2 four-way stops, you allow for safe passage for all the children, and also you force the commercial vehicles to decide whether or not they want to use our neighborhood as a throughway. It is a neighborhood that is hugely populated by small children. And so we want to make sure our kids are safe. We've worked for many years with the city looking for any opportunity to slow the traffic down. There's actually been several accidents right by my home as the traffic is coming south and tries to make the curve in the winter. They don't make the curve, and my neighbor's house has been hit twice. So it is a very dangerous intersection, and we'd really like some support, and we're hoping that the council can assist us with the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll bring that up with our police department and kind of determine where that is. And then you had another issue as well, I believe.
I do.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Has the bike lane helped at all?
No. No, unfortunately, that's just where people go to pass cars that are stopped. So if somebody stops because they're turning into a driveway, the bike lane is used to pass them. So, which is even more dangerous because you just can't see the kids on the street.
And the crosswalk you mentioned, is there a crossing guard there?
No, it's too far away from the school. The school doesn't provide one there. And the kids use it even after school because there's a park just to the east.
Yeah.
And so the kids in our neighborhood, they love that park. My kids do. And so they go over that park quite frequently. So that crosswalk gets a huge amount of traffic from children.
Even not during other times than school
Yes.
times?
Yes, quite a bit.
Especially during the summer, I can say that's, as I've driven that road there, I mean, you've got pretty heavy pedestrian traffic there, and during the summer, you're gonna see a huge ramp up in that. It's the neighborhood fastest way to Maverick on a
Right.
highway.
It is the fastest way to Maverick. But we just want to make it safe for the children. And unfortunately, most of the traffic that's speeding on that road doesn't live there. They don't live in our neighborhood. They're using us as a cut through. So it's just an efficient way to remind people it is a neighborhood.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Rick. And then you had one more. Pet code. Does it say pet code? Is that
It
what
says pet code. I know that traditionally this has been an unwelcomed conversation with the board, so I appreciate you listening to me this evening. I've been on the board of my association, but I've been recently elected to be the president. And this is an issue that I have seen personally, but also in trying to keep our neighborhood a good place where everybody is welcome and can have what their needs are met. This has been a real issue. I researched the code in the Clearfield City Code. There are only 9 references to animals in the code. Of those, 3 of them are discussing animal waste removal meant for the agricultural areas in Clearfield. In section 611 is the only actual reference to pets in our neighborhoods, and that is actually in the police regulations. I want you guys to know it took me 2 days to find where that was in the code, and I had to read the code, almost all of it, to get the information I have tonight. The code says that we're going to adopt the Davis County Animal Code, and then in the next sentence it says you can only have 2 dogs, which is contradictory to the Davis Code. I am not here tonight requesting more dogs. Just so you know, that's not what this is about. Last summer in my neighborhood, and I know this is very common, we had 4 families with chickens and 1 family that was raising 2 baby fainting goats. The code at this time in the Clearfield City Code is not adequate. It addresses dogs and cats, and that's all. There are references to fowl, but that's only in the agricultural section. There are no references to any other animals. I then went to the Davis County Code, which talks about exotic pets and says you can't have a llama, but it also makes no reference to what animals are appropriate in a neighborhood. I personally have to say I'm pro-chicken. I will never have a chicken because my husband doesn't care for them. But I think that there are many families that want to have a few chickens for their children to raise for 4-H, or because they're trying to supplement and have their own egg supply. But what the city adopts as a code is not what I'm here about tonight. I'm here requesting that the city, once and for all, look at the pet code and make something that's reasonable, that everybody can be comfortable with, or the majority. I know you're not going to make everybody happy, but something that makes sense. As it stands right now, the code is not enforceable. I called code enforcement to ask if chickens could be had. Code enforcement told me that if you have 1/2 acre of land, you may have 1 chicken. I said, what? They said if your land is agricultural and you have 1/2 acre, you may have 1 chicken. I actually read the code and that's incorrect. The code actually says you can have 1 fowl unit, which is 30 birds. But there's no reference to what we can have in the neighborhood. And so even code enforcement doesn't really know what the code says or how to enforce it. So I'm hoping that if you address the issue, you can write a code that makes sense and that we can actually follow and enforce.
Well, and just to answer that, because obviously decision-making we couldn't do tonight, but code actually states, yes, 3 animals, no more than 2 dogs. So you can have 3 cats, you can have 2 dogs and a cat, you can have 2 cats and a dog, and that's it. And that is because everything else is not allowed. Chickens are not allowed. At this point in time, chickens are not allowed. They're not allowed in a residential neighborhood, and so the code doesn't discuss having chickens in a residential neighborhood because it doesn't go through everything that's not allowed. And the reason for that, I mean, honestly, if we had to list out everything that wasn't allowed, if that's how the code got written and we said, well, this isn't allowed and this isn't allowed, if we wrote it that way, then anything that we failed to mention would thus be allowed.
Right.
Probably not the best way to go about it.
The problem is that you refer in your first paragraph to following the Davis County Code, and the Davis County Code does list. And the Davis County Code doesn't list chickens, and it doesn't list goats.
Right.
But it's specific in what animals you can't have. So what happens is that becomes a large loophole. If somebody from code enforcement, let's say for example, I wanted to have chickens. Again, I don't have chickens and don't want them, but well. Anyways, let's say I had chickens and code enforcement came to my house. I have an argument with them because I could say, well, the code says clearly that we're following Davis County. Even though we don't reference chickens at all, Davis County references what animals you can't have. So I don't know how you can tell somebody they can't have a chicken if Davis County is specific and we're referencing them. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about whether or not we can have chickens. I'm concerned that the language of the code is unenforceable. If you were to take an issue to court, you'd have a really hard time with it. And I'm also concerned because I think that in talking to residents in the neighborhood, a lot of people feel like the code, their attitude is, the code doesn't really say so I can do what I want. And I think for us to have a code, it should be clear so that everybody understands what the rules are, and you don't have one person, like the fainting goats, I think was taking it a little far. And I mean, it just was. But I would like the code to be clear. So I just want to address it tonight and kind of put a burr in your saddle to start looking at the code yourselves and thinking about what the needs are of the citizens and trying to make something that's more definable. Whether you want chickens or not, to be honest, when I read it, I didn't get the impression that you couldn't have chickens, except for the reference to the Davis County Code, and that one specifically doesn't list chickens,
right,
while it lists a lot of other animals. I just thought you guys, when you wrote the code, the way it reads is that you're just saying you can't have more than 2 dogs. That was what I saw the intent of that language to be. That's what I mean. It's confusing. Okay. And even code enforcement doesn't really get it.
Well, we will bring that up with the planning department. I can tell you that tomorrow night the planning commission is hearing, or is discussing residential fowl. City Council will be addressing that March 28th. So we will be discussing residential fowl, which could mean chickens.
It's a foul subject.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And like I say, I know this is traditionally an uncomfortable subject, but I just want to have clear rules, because being someone who's leading a community, I want to be able to advise people. And I have residents coming to me saying, well, no, I can have chickens, and I don't know what to say to them, because when I read the code, I would have to agree with them. And so I just want to have clear rules that we can all follow, so we're all on the same page and we have a harmonious neighborhood and town.
Certainly, totally understandable. I appreciate it.
And just so you know, I am anti-rooster.
Good.
Thank you for letting
Appreciate
me
it.
take the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 4 on our agenda. This is the only comments I had. Was there anybody else that was here to make a public comment tonight? Okay. Then item number 4 is to consider approval of ordinance 2017-01, approving a general plan map amendment, changing the land use designation from commercial to mixed use for the property located at 1129 South State Street. This is the piece of property we just discussed, and this will cover this, the general plan change, as well. The next item will be the rezone. Council, any comments or concerns as far as the general plan change?
I think it's a great business, a great use of that land, so.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move we approve ordinance 2017-01, approving a general plan map amendment, changing the land use designation from commercial to mixed use for property located at 1129 South State, 10-12-309-0001, and authorize your signature to any necessary document.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comment? Okay, Councilmember Phipps?
Aye.
Councilmember Roper?
Aye.
Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Bush?
Aye.
Councilmember Young?
Aye.
That is unanimous. So again, item number 5 will be to consider approval of ordinance 2017-02, approving a rezone of that property located at 1129 South State Street from commercial C2 to commercial residential CR.
I'm just excited to see something finally on that lot. That old house that was there, you know, and got burned or whatever happened to it, and it's been vacant for a while. And I think anything that we can get that will look as good as they say it's going to in that area will help to spur other development. So, you know, it's not, quote, our downtown, but it's still along our main State Street corridor, so I think that's great to have something there. So I will make the motion to approve ordinance 2017-02, approving a rezone request for property located at 1129 South State Street, tax ID number 12-309-0001, from commercial C2 to commercial residential CR, and authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
Are they going to keep the big sycamore tree? Probably not.
I think that was right where the building goes.
Probably not. All right. Councilmember Bush?
Aye.
Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Young?
Aye.
Councilmember Roper?
Aye.
And Councilmember Phipps?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Item number 6 then is to consider approval of the award of bids for playground equipment. And there he is. Eric, would you come up and talk to us about playground equipment?
I would love to. I'm excited about this one.
This is Eric's favorite subject.
It is right now.
Yes.
This is, as you know, we talked about this last week in the work session, and I am very excited about this issue. This is a big deal for us. In 8 of our parks, we'll be installing new playground equipment this summer, and this is the first step in that process. Just as a review, those parks are Train Watch Park, North Steed. We'll put electronic playgrounds at both Fisher and Barlow. 200 South Park, Cornerstone Park, Island View for the 2 to 5 year olds, and Central Park, just just behind us in conjunction with Wasatch Elementary. Another important note with this is that the majority of this is funded by the parrot tax, which was passed by our residents just a couple of years ago. This is phase one. So this is a big first step in that process. As is indicated on the agenda for and the description for this item, the total budget for this is $350,000. Of that, $290,000 is from the parrot tax. One item has been funded as a capital project in the general fund, and that would be for the playground at Train Watch. This process started back in December. We opened these bids in January. I think on the 17th, the bids closed, and we have a member of 6 people, a committee of 6 people reviewing these proposals. We looked at a lot of playgrounds, and there's a process to select a vendor who, from this point, once these vendors are selected tonight with your award, then we'll begin the design process of each of those, order those within the next month, and have them here in May, early May, hopefully for a mid-May, June install. So we should have them all in by July. As is indicated in the item in the agenda, our recommendation as from the selection committee with this is to award 6 of these playgrounds, the design of these playgrounds, to Big T Recreation, and 2 to Garrett and Company, which is Miracle Playground Equipment. And that is our recommendation to you. Do you have any questions at this time?
I don't have any questions, just we are excited. You people that are here tonight, this is great for the city, especially the youth. We have 8 parks that we're going to be putting playground equipment in, as Eric said, and it's because a lot of it, the parrot tax that we passed, that you guys voted on, we really appreciate that. That money is going to be put to use for improvements in our parks, as it should and has to be used for that type of thing. So this year you're going to see a whole lot of more things in all the parks that Eric mentioned, and they're all over the city, so they're going to be probably in all of your neighborhoods. And as we get to putting those in the past we've had the residents come and help do it. So I think that that's a good idea to do. We had to work out the details, but you will be able to participate and see how the stuff's put in and actually help put it in some cases, not all of it, but some of it. So you can take ownership in the parks in your area. So this is a great thing that we're doing here. So we appreciate you guys and your support.
Yeah. Just one more note on the parrot tax. I think it's important to remember that the parrot tax is based on sales. Mm-hmm. And so anyone who purchases most things in Clearfield, with a few exceptions, has contributed to the parrot tax. It's not just on the backs of our residents. So I think that's one of the benefits of that method.
A lot of used cars that are outside of our city now in these parks, so we appreciate that.
Yeah.
How many swing sets are we putting in?
Swing sets, we'll be putting swing sets mostly at 200 South Park. Will be mostly swings. There's even a swing that's suspended from a rail that goes 113 feet on that rail. And then we will also have some swings down at Island View.
Good, because I'm just, from
I remember
comments made at the lunch with the mayor, we don't have enough swings in our city. So
I thought you were anxious to try them out, Mayor.
But at least we're getting there. So
I just thought you were anxious to try out the swings.
I am. I was going to have a swinging contest with me and Bruce. That's the next thing on the agenda, is for Bruce and I to have a swing contest.
I've tried it out. It's pretty fun.
Eric, on the capital cost on Train Watch, was that just because we already had that one budgeted to come through capital?
Yeah, that was already budgeted in our capital projects in the current fiscal year. So we just lumped those together for ease of this process.
That'll be fun.
This is outstanding.
Yeah. I'm way excited. You know that I am way excited about this too. So great stuff.
It's nice to have it touch this many parts of the city. So to be able to use that income from the parrot tax and touch this many areas of the city at once is really cool. So.
As I've mentioned to most of you before, I'm less than happy about the fact that a lot of our residents like to go to West Point. I think we'll start having their residents come here and visit us a little bit after the summer. So I'm excited about that too.
Fantastic.
People will know where the 200 South Park is now.
Yes. All right. Well, I would entertain a motion on that, Council.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to approve the award of bids for playground design and purchase to Big T Recreation for North Steed Park, Train Watch Park, Fisher Park, Barlow Park, Island View Park, and Central Park, and to Garrett and Company for the 200 South Park and Cornerstone Park for a total project cost of $350,000, and authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And then item number 7 on our agenda is to consider approval of the license agreement with the U.S. Air Force for monitoring wells. We see this just about not every year, every 2 years. With the plume that had been created from Hill Air Force Base years and years and years ago, they've been monitoring this for some time. They go out and do their testing. As they've done it this past year, they've found that one well is no longer needed. They're going to abandon that one. They've got 2 others they would like to put in place just to continue to monitor the spread and the dissipation of the plume itself. So that's really all there is to this. Any questions, Council?
No, I've been on that board for like 6 years now, so if I can give you any gory detail you're interested in having. So that's another thing, like garbage. I find it really fascinating. But I also have a well in front of my house too, so that's not one they're closing. But it really, Hill Air Force Base should be commended because they weren't forced to do this. They proactively went out and found the contamination on their own initiative and have taken huge strides to make sure that it's mitigated. And there's really nothing more the Air Force could do than what they're doing right now. And this is evidence of it because the plume is shrinking, not only ours, but everywhere it's shrinking. So it's a great thing. It's a lot of interesting chemistry and science, but anyway.
Well, and as they continue to inject the bacteria that they inject into it.
The Wesson oil up in your neighborhood there.
Yes. The Wesson oil, basically, that ends up eating the bug. They're eating other stuff. It takes care of it. So, well, I would entertain a motion then.
Okay, I'll make that motion to approve the license agreement with the U.S. Air Force for monitoring wells and authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Item number 8 is to consider approval of Resolution 2017 R-03, authorizing an interlocal agreement with Davis County to administer a by-mail election for the 2017 municipal primary and general election. Nancy, do you want to just address that anymore? Or,
I don't know if the council had specific questions, but for the public that's here, 2 years ago, we did our first by-mail election, and we saw our turnout almost double. And just last year in the presidential election, the county saw more than an 85% turnout, and most of those were the by-mail ballots that went out that were used. Now, we don't anticipate that we'll see that kind of a percentage, but we do anticipate that our percentages will continue to increase as we reach out to our residents by mail. So I'm really excited that the City Council has supported in the past and is continuing to support trying this by mail election to try and engage our voters.
Thank you. Council, any comments or concerns? Then I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to approve Resolution 2017 R-03, authorizing an interlocal agreement with Davis County to administer by-mail election for the 2017 municipal primary and general elections, and authorize their signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Roper?
Aye.
Councilmember Bush?
Aye.
Councilmember Phipps?
Aye.
Councilmember Young?
Aye.
Tennis. That is unanimous. That brings us to our communication items. We don't have anything tonight. We're still moving forward with Clearfield Station. We're kind of in limbo at this point. We're waiting from word from Stadler Rail's Board of Directors. It was presented, we know, to them, to the executive board yesterday, it's yesterday. And it will go to their full board this Saturday. So we're just kind of up in the air until that happens. We do appreciate that we've had some phenomenal participation from both the county. Our employees have put so much time and effort into this, it's kind of scary, but between the county and the state, a lot of people going to bat to make this happen in Clearfield, so we're crossing our fingers, and this would mean a huge deal to the city. So, did have a wonderful groundbreaking this past week at Americold. They that actually did end up in the Standard, but without incentives, without coaxing, without having to help them at all, they're popping in a $30 million investment into Clearfield, which is fantastic. That would be wonderful. We've had some others that are also looking at expanding as well. So a lot of good things happening. So that is all I had. Councilmember Young.
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Councilmember Bush.
I just want to mention that we're going to be holding our neighborhood open houses again this year. We really like to get out and meet with the residents of the city, and they're going to be at 3 of our elementary schools. I can tell you the dates if you want to know.
Nancy knows.
March 21st at Holt, April 18th at Antelope, and May 30th at Wasatch, and I'm sure they're going to be advertised, all that, but we appreciate when the people come and talk to us and give us their input and let us know how you feel, so let your neighbors know about those and come and talk to us.
Should also have presentations that night. We anticipate we know we will have pictures and so forth from Eric and his crew of our playground equipment that'll be coming. Likely we'll have Wasatch Integrated there as well to talk about recycling for us. And, but yeah, it'd be good. So come out and enjoy some cookies and punch. Ask questions. And Nancy, that you want to make the change there?
Yeah, March 21st is actually at Antelope Elementary.
Yes. Okay, Councilmember Peterson.
I had a chance a week and a half ago, to attend the open house for the Circles organization, which is an organization that's run through Family Connection Center that helps families break the cycle of poverty and be able to get off of government assistance and find wage-earning jobs and make a real break where they can be completely self-sufficient. This is an incredible organization in our community, and they are starting this Thursday, and they meet once a week for 12 weeks. It is for families. It can be a single parent family is fine. They provide dinner, they have child care, and then they go through coaching for these families with the skills that they need to be able to transition off of assistance. And it's an incredible organization there, so they are still accepting individuals for that's starting on Thursday. And then, I don't know if Tim was going to mention it, but just excited, our fire district is taking steps once again to just proactively be better prepared to handle emergencies within our community with upgraded life packs that they'll be carrying on their apparatus there that allow them to better, how would you say it, Mayor, better assess cardiac incidents on the scene and allow them to respond quicker to that. So we are excited the fire district is moving forward with that, and they got it for a steal of a deal, so we're happy on the cost as well.
Yeah, it's very comforting to see that they're so on top of things financially, and so when a deal like this comes along, they're able to pick up these packs at an incredible discount for these refurbished packs. It'll finally allow us to have one in both the chief's and the deputy chief's trucks. So, Councilmember Roper.
I just wanted to publicly honor the former mayor of Sunset, John Nicholas, and his wife, who passed recently in the fire that was there. They're family members of mine, but it was a great honor of mine to not only represent the city as a family, be there as a family member, but represent our city and send our condolences to their family.
Thank you. Councilmember Phipps?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. Staff reports, Adam?
Well, I think we ought to say happy birthday to Councilmember
Yes, we
Phipps.
should.
I'm not going to sing, but happy birthday. Nothing else at this time.
Any other staff reports? Nancy? Boss?
Sorry. Yeah, just reviewing the calendar, we'll have work and special session next week, probably starting at 6. Our special session is scheduled to start at 6:30. If we need to push that to a little later, we can do that. But we will have work session, so we will start with work session at 6. We'll have work and policy session on March 14th. Again, we have the neighborhood open house on March 21st at Antelope Elementary, and we will have work and policy session again on March 28th. And on March 28th, we'll start budget review with the council.
Very good. And just a reminder, I am out of town the 15th through the whenever that is, 11th through the 15th, excuse me, for the National League of Cities. We did meet this week with our Military Communities Council in preparation for our meetings with Senator McCain to discuss military issues and the effects of the base on communities. So, and we're the poster child that they're looking at, so it's a good thing. Well, if there are no other comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Yes. We expect Monday we'll have notice from them at the very latest.